Welcome to the European Ham Radio Show. Still getting used to an hour earlier than usual here. And we're only four people today, which is kind of timely for today's subject. I think Shetel was out doing a soda and kind of forget about time. Sean had some other stuff to do. He's and as well substitute. Walt is doing his thing, and so it's the four of us, including this guy down here, Dave from Irish Ham Radio, with the absolute coolest looking hat ever. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks very much, Martin. Thank you. And thanks for having me again. Good to be back. Absolutely. And hello to everybody else out there.
Yeah. So we're going to start off with the ham radio moment of the week. And that's kind of, I guess that's also fitting for the subject because sometimes life gets in the way. So let's see, Tobias, what's your ham radio moment of the week?
I managed to sneak out a few hours ago and managed to do a POTA activation. I tested the that match that I built, that the tuning indicator works. And yeah, it's was all working nicely. The band conditions were not so great, but the POTA Hunter gang in Spain saved the day. So I made the activation.
Yeah, that's better than I did today. I went out, got 4 QSOs, and I think it was about 35 minutes and gave up. Dave, what's your ham radio moment of the week?
This week, actually yesterday, funny enough, I went out, we went down with the camper van just to the local beach. It's only a kilometre down the road and parked, and the guys were just fiddling around the camper van and we were just chilling, and I stuck up the Pack 12, but I actually stuck it on the roof of, into the roof mount of the Jeep or onto the van, and I said I'd give it a go, see if I could get any QSOs. So I could hear a lot of contest calls, so I said, okay, I'll set myself up for logging. Didn't know what was on, said I'd set myself up for logging for a contest. Hey, Kettle. And basically, next thing I was asked for, fair enough, a number and all of that, and I gave the number, and then I was asked for my locator reference, and I didn't even realize there was actually the UK EI contest was on. So he says to me, the first QSO, he goes, I don't know my reference, I'll have to get it. And he goes, it's your contest. so I was like, uh-oh. So a quick scramble on the mobile phone. I wouldn't be watching what contests are on, to be honest, but I'll always answer calls, and give them a number and submit my logs to help people that are contesting. And I was able to get the reference fairly quickly and give it back to them then. So that was my weekly ham radio moment.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Shetel, I see you're probably in the middle of your ham radio moment of the week. Is that correct to assume?
No, I was going home and I had roughly an hour left to drive at this moment, and lots of traffic, and I messed up with the soda, which took a lot longer than expected. So I'm actually in the middle of a river. This is a salmon fishing river in Western Norway. And this is the first place I found in half an hour which was decent to sit and had cell phone coverage. So
yeah, that sounds really nice.
Yeah, I'm using like forest toilet, or the forester, or whatever it's called, forest perfume, mosquito repellent.
It looked like you spent about half the bottle already, so I'm guessing there's quite a bit of wildlife where you're at.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Shetel.
Yeah, excellent. It froze slightly here. So we'll see if this works. But my ham radio moment of the week, if that's the question, was yesterday, all of yesterday. I was at a major search and rescue exercise in southeastern Norway. They're not coming on that often, and the local hams had a part in that, using APRS trackers and so on.
Cool.
So I decided to invite myself over to their exercise. So that was really cool. Got driven by a 6-wheel ATV out in the middle of the forest where there was no cell phone coverage, no emergency communications coverage, and we helped people communicate out there in the forest and keep track of where they were. So that was really fun. Lots of nice people. So
where was this?
Åmli.
Right in the middle of Norway? No.
Yeah, no, in Agder. So Åmli in Agder. So
Right.
in the middle of southern Norway. So in the middle of nowhere, basically.
Yep.
So that was really nice. I didn't do anything radio related, and some people are wondering why I'm streaming in the middle of a forest for some reason.
that is a complete normal thing to do.
You need to get the for the back of your PC. You need to get the Only Hams sticker.
No, I'm not that dodgy.
You can have my Only Ham sticker because I don't have enough guts to put that on a computer I'm going to use in public.
Stick it on the back of the car.
That joke is getting a bit too worn out, I think. Yeah, but that was mostly it. And I had a really nice QSO with Tobias earlier today from a SOTA summit. And that was, I think, our first HF QSO, Tobias.
I'm not sure, but I'll import it into the logbook and then I'll find out. But could be, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, the voice is now familiar and trained, so I'll recognize the voice when I find you on the airwaves.
That's good. Your modulation was very different on HF than on YouTube.
Really? Okay.
Yes, much less compression.
There is actually a huge difference, Tobias. Every time we've had a QSO, I've been there's something familiar about that call sign, but I'm not really sure who it is.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe my ability of properly set up the audio of my radios is not as good as I thought it is.
No, it was really good. So, yep, that was me, I think.
I mean, that was the IC705. I usually set it to the brightest setting because with just 10 watts, I don't want wreck-chew sound. So maybe it's a bit narrow and bright. At least I hope it is.
That's a good thing, though. If you want the DX or in QRP, if you want any QSOs, exactly, a lot of compression and as narrow as possible, just to punch through.
Yeah.
Bob, what's your ham radio moment of the week?
That's going to be uncharacteristically short, I think. I've been still crazy times at work, but I have played with the let's say, what's the radio? Kilo Tango Whiskey Papa 12. That's this small. I can show it. It's on my desk here. Let's see. This one. I've been figuring out how to connect that to a mobile linked. And that normally you'd think that was easy because it's got this nice aviation connector. Let's see if I can show that as well. Yeah. But of course, that's got the speaker in it and it's got mic in it. It's got no PTT. That's done of a serial from this mic.
I was going to ask, is that radio with the display and everything on the mic? But apparently
yes,
it is.
It is. And of course, that the mic is then actually doing cat control, as it were, of a serial to the radio. So what I had to do is I had to open up the mic and connect to the speaker, the microphone in the mic, and also the button that signals a PTT to the microprocessor that's in here, and still have that doing the push to talk. But I made it work. I set it up and it worked quite nicely. And for the first time, I used the APRS.fi app on the iPhone with a proper TNC instead of just over the internet. And I also downloaded the radio mail on the iPhone, and that worked really smooth as well. So I'm going to do the same experiment with some other radios because it's not really a brilliant radio, but it's really cheap and it's possible to use. So yeah, that was my only ham radio activity of the week, I think.
That's 2 meters 70 centimeter, or what is? I'm complete. Don't know the radio.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I was about to ask the same question. Yeah.
The radio, it's a UHF VHF radio.
Yeah. Okay.
It's I think it's 25 watts. The 25, 10, and 5 watts you can select. As I understand it, people that test it say it's a fair radio. The way I look at it is, I think it's a Baofeng in a really small box with a bit of more oomph. So not really a brilliant radio, but probably good enough for packets and APRS.
I have been looking at those to put
Maybe
in,
for the car also a good.
yeah, exactly,
candidate,
to put in the car, because you can hide everything away and you can just have the mic up front.
I wouldn't put that radio in the car. I'd rather put the one you gave away, Morten. That's actually a good radio to at least to be on the receiving end of. I don't think this one is. So good for packet, good for digital, but I wouldn't want to use that as a daily driver, quite literally.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. As of now, it's the radio I fixed with double-sided tape in my car, and even made a YouTube video on. And that radio is really great.
Which one was that?
The ICOM ICF 1610.
Of course, yeah. No reason, but you need to put. You can tell this, but there are other radio installations in your future, I guess. So.
The thing is, though, my wife bought a new car, and I have been thinking I just need to. And since she's somewhere around here, she'll probably hear it now. But I have to figure a way of semi-permanently putting a radio in her car, because sometimes I will probably be driving that as well.
Of course.
What about that?
You need APRS.
Oh, there you go.
I hold it. Yeah.
What about the 705, Martin, that you've been borrowing for a little while?
She was just yelling something here. I think it was something in the lines of over my dead body
or something like that.
Is there a Q code for that?
Yeah, I think that's 99 or something. Yes,
Q9 or 9er.
But yeah, I guess the radio installations will still primarily be in the Nissan Leaf.
HT then.
HT and a mag mount for when I'm driving it. Let's see. That brings me on to the ham radio moment of the week, and I've actually, strangely enough, found some time for ham radio this week. And looking back at it, I have no idea how I found time for it, but I've been playing a little bit around with the GP. I got to find the full name for it here, because it's a long name. It's an AliExpress antenna. I think it's called the GP2 portable shortwave GP2 Pro 7 to 54 megahertz portable shortwave pro antenna, or just a GP2. It's basically it's a ground spike. It's a 5-meter whip, and then there's an extension rod and a coil for 40 meters. Nothing magical about it, but it's not to give any spoilers. The video will be dropping on Tuesday, but it's a really good antenna. So I've been playing a little bit around with that this week. Pleasantly surprised about that. But that's not my ham radio moment of the week. My ham radio moment of the week is driving to work on Wednesday morning, putting on the latest episode of Ham Radio Workbench, forgetting that I was on and suddenly hearing my own voice. That was my ham radio moment of the week. That was also my ham radio cringe of the week, because I just thought, did I really say that on what is probably the largest ham radio podcast out there?
Yeah, I did not listen to it yet.
You did really well,
scared.
Tobias.
I'm scared. It's probably true.
The thing is, though, I had an ear infection. I could only hear on one ear. I was full of painkillers and antibiotics, and not really in a clear state of mind when we did the recording.
I haven't listened to this yet, but I need to now, because it sounds like
a lot of disclaimers there, Martin.
I would say that Tobias's walkthrough of how a 3D printer works is an amazing description in there. Not ham related at all.
But it's just,
was I at least accurate? I just made it up while I went along. So I'm not exactly.
That's what we all do, Tobias. That's what we all do.
Yeah, for being a random guy on the internet, you were really accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You were, you were probably the best one of us that was on that podcast. So if you haven't heard of that, guys, go ahead and check it out, hamradioworkbench.com, and you'll find the episodes there. We're talking about what's on our workbench for, I think it is close to 3 hours. So that was a lot of fun and a great experience. And speaking about that, George has confirmed that he will be on the show a couple of times this fall. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Can I ask our viewers something?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about this, I think, after the last show or the show before for different topics. And I mentioned I'd like to do a show on APRS and packet. I tried to reach out to the creator of APRS.fi. I have not been able to get through to him. So either he's not interested or I didn't find his email. If any of our listeners or viewers knows him or knows anyone else that's really knowledgeable of APRS and packet, please send us an email. I'd love to get some guests and do a show on that. I think, for me, I think that's a really interesting topic. So if any of our listeners knows anyone that's really good at this stuff, or even the guy from APRS.fi, please send us an email and I'll reach out and we'll make this happen. That's cq@hamshow.eu.
I was a little bit afraid there. I thought you were going to say the creator of APRS, but he's silent key.
Very much so. So,
yeah.
I would have some let's say nits to pick with him of some of the design decisions, but of course that was designed in probably not even the same century. So
exactly,
I'll forgive him. Yeah.
Okay,
so
I have a quick, before we go to the topic, quick detour. I have a suggestion. Maybe we should have a new segment, accidental purchase of the week. And this is my
that's going to be a long segment to us.
Yeah, that is my accidental purchase.
What
it's
is that?
A small
a light, is it?
Torch, flashlight basically. And it's in a nice metal case. And it comes with 2 magnets. So somebody has really made an effort to design that. So you can just put it on a door frame, or you can put it like this. So it's the nice thing, and it's USB rechargeable. Unfortunately, not USB-C. And I found that in the hardware store in one of these old stuff bins that they want to get rid of. So and it's really bright, as you can see.
Yeah.
It
nice.
was not so expensive, and it has a solid aluminum case. And I think there's just a LiPo battery here below, and here's probably a 1 watt LED. So I didn't plan to buy this, but it will be make good use in the shack when I'm trying to find something in the dark.
Oh, absolutely. Can I show you something that I haven't bought yet but is in my shack?
Oh yes.
Let's see. I'm probably gonna embiggen myself here, and because I was visiting another ham, and he said, "How about you borrow this and see if it's any good?" And this will be good for quite a while, because I'm nowhere close to 1500 watts at the moment. And this is the hugest tuner I've ever had in the shack. It's bigger than my Flex 6300.
That's a big tuner.
That is a big tuner. And the funny thing about it, let's see if I can do some fancy video producing here.
Making space for ham radio, not making time for ham radio.
I had to reorganize the shack when I got home with that.
I'm not surprised. It's huge.
and the relays are so loud that I'm able to wake my kids up when I tune the antennas with it.
It's like an amplifier.
Yeah, it's about the size of an amplifier, and it's probably made to be able to stack on top of an amplifier.
Really loud, like.
How much energy can you put through that while it's tuning? You know?
I've tried 100 watts and it doesn't complain.
So you just push 100 watts through it and it tunes through that, and it doesn't destroy the relays.
Nope.
So, yep. The only complaint I would have about that is that it is in fact at the wrong end of the feed line. Other than that, looks like a fantastic piece of kit.
But there is actually there is a long wire connection on the back of it. So
but most people don't start their long wire in their shack.
No, but I can't put it because it tunes on RFN, so I can't put it if I get a waterproof case and put it outside. But this is actually. The reason why it's here is because it's for a lot of different antennas. I'm not a one antenna guy. If I only had one long wire, it'd be outside.
Yeah.
And then it'd probably be because MFJ also made a waterproof outside version of this. So it'd probably be that.
Looks
But-
really, really cool. You're gonna be you're gonna have fun with that. That's gonna.
I have not bought it yet though, but I borrowed because I haven't been completely satisfied with the LDG Z11 that I bought. So I
I see
figured
you have an AT779 underneath it as well, Morton. I think that's a great little mobile radio.
oh, it's a Retivis RA25,
Yeah,
but
the same
it's
thing,
it's
though.
probably
Same
the same
thing.
radio.
It's a clone
It's
of
a
it,
great
yeah,
little
yeah,
radio.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No worries. Interruptions are what we do in this show.
Yep.
Talking about that and accidental purchases of the week. Oh, that is transparent now, but yeah, all right. You can see the back of the room. This is a
Yep.
computer, which is the size of a fat cell phone. So
What is it? What is it, Bob?
it's a computer. It's got
computer. All right, yeah,
256
mini
gigs
computer,
of flash and 16 gigs of memory, and a really nice screen. It doesn't show up on camera, but yeah, this is it's the weight and size that you can stick that in a backpack and not regret it when you go up mountainsides. So
You will still no. Sorry, you will not need a screen because you got a screen on it. So
that's the beauty of it, and it's
Yeah.
got the touch screen, so you can sit there and swear till your heart's content because it doesn't work in the rain. And yeah,
but
ticks all the boxes.
I'm guessing that was probably the accidental purchase a couple of weeks ago because you probably got that from China, right?
It's a lot more fun to show off the things that arrive, and I'm not going to have any problems getting new stuff every week to show up for that segment.
I have a plethora of tracking numbers that I check every day now. So
There's constant stream of stuff coming. Isn't
yeah.
there? Yeah.
Pretty much. But let's try to get on the topic though, because it's making time for ham radio. And we all have somewhat other stuff happening in our lives than ham radio. And sometimes that gets in the way of doing the hobby. So how about we do a little bit of a roundtable? Dave, how do you find time for ham radio?
Yeah.
I know we've discussed this earlier.
We have, yeah, and at one point, well, it still exists. Whether it's getting a lot of content or not is another thing. But I even had a sort of a series going there. Break time ham radio is what I called it, and where exactly this topic, making time for ham radio when you're so busy. So if you can fit it in here, there, or everywhere. But for me, it's like I would describe myself as an opportunistic ham radio operator. I don't really sit and watch the bands even if I'm working from home here or if I'm in the shack. Most of the time I'm not kind of watching the bands or waiting for the bands to be right. Whenever I get an opportunity to go on, I'll go on, and a lot of the time that's portable, which is probably evident from the content as well. Although I do have a pretty good, a decent enough setup here at the house. Most of the time I am operating portable, and to be honest, amateur radio is probably one of a number of hobbies that I have as well. So you're there's only so many hours in the day, and when you have family and things going on and busy with work, I would tend to lean towards operating ham radio when it fits in with also maybe another hobby. So that's why SOTA is such a big thing for me, because I'm into mountaineering and I'm in the hills. I was in the hills today, not on a SOTA activation out today, but so obviously you can take your radio with you, activate a SOTA summit. I also do a lot of driving for work. So I have a fairly decent setup mobile in the car, although I'm jostling my HF antenna system at the minute, but I do have a setup that I can operate mobile, VHF, UHF through the repeaters, whether it's simplex. And last year I would have done a good bit of worldwide flora fauna. Again, that's a good fit because you might be close to a flora and fauna site, and you can operate that mobile. So you don't even have to get out and fully set up a portable antenna. That's one of the beauties of what I thought was quite good with the flora and fauna system. You don't have to actually get out, get fully portable, get away from the vehicle, and you don't necessarily have to be a mountaineer or a hiker. You can do that kind of there's a lot of flora and fauna sites. Well, in Ireland anyway, they equate to special areas of conservation. So I suppose to answer your question, like I said, when I can fit it in with another hobby or fit it in when I have breaks in time, even at work or on the way to work or on the way back from work, perfect example would be traveling to work. I'd always be tuned in on whatever repeater, usually our local repeater that I'm the keeper for with the club, Donegal Amateur Radio Club, and I'd be maybe make a few QSOs through the repeater on 2 meters, or if I'm stopped somewhere on the way home, if I know I'm passing the flora and fauna site, I might park in on the flora and fauna site and try to activate it. So yeah, it's always trying to fit it in with other things for me a lot of the time. It'd be more often like that for me than it would be that I'm just going out to do just amateur radio, you know. That'd be the sort of way I operate for most of the time anyway.
I can relate to a lot of the things you're saying there. I'll get to that later on. Kjetil, how do you find time for ham radio?
It varies a lot, but also very much the same as Dave. Opportunity. I rarely plan my activations. I see maybe, okay, it's nice weather today. I'll go out and activate, even if it's half an hour out in a park or up to a SOTA summit. It's nice, and I don't rarely don't care about like if I've been there before or something like that. Although it's really fun to take new ones, but for me it's something to do when I feel like it, when it's a fun thing to do and it's an activity to do at a hike or something like that. And also, I see that I am running quite low on battery here, so I'm going to cut this really short and head on soon. But for me, when I travel a lot, like today, I stop in the middle of nowhere and I do a SOTA POTA as a break on a long drive. I have a 5-hour drive today. So it's an amazing thing to like get out of the car, walk for 2 hours or an hour and do some radio and then in the car again. That's amazing. So whenever it fits in, and sometimes I want to do something special like a contest or so, but most of the time it's just to have fun when it fits in my day. But I don't have a family. I just work and then all my evenings are free. So I'm kind of luckier than most of the other guys here. I don't have that much schedule other than what I feel like doing myself. So that is good.
Yep.
So,
and we'll just see how long your battery lasts.
It's gonna be. It's saying less than 10 minutes.
Less than 10 minutes. So we're happy that you could take the little time to be on then and making time for the European Ham Radio Show.
Yeah, I have a bigger battery in the car over there, but that's a 5 minutes walk. So yeah, I'm not doing that in the middle of the show.
No. And you should probably work on getting home as well, I would think.
Yes. But 7-3, everybody, and have a nice evening.
7-3, Kjetil.
7-3.
Thanks, Kjetil.
7-3.
And I see that Gert here has got a question. If some of us work remote when we're at work, and I have the option to do so, but not while I'm working. But the reason I got the flex is because I'm going to do a lot more traveling in this job. And instead of sitting in a pub drinking beers when I'm in a hotel, I can sit in my room and do radio with the flex. So that is I can still drink beer, but I can play radio and drink beer at the same time. But no, honestly, I don't do that at my job. I need to focus on the job while on the job, and that's just the way it is. But I do have the opportunity to do FT8 in a lot of different settings with the app on the iPhone. So while I'm in line somewhere, I might do a couple of QSOs.
I can answer that as well for my part. It's I can work from home pretty much anytime. And at times, like when I built the 6-meter mag loop antenna, I would just leave the radio on the FT8 frequency, but the volume turned fairly low down, so that when there was an opening, I would hear the squeaks. And that could last for 5 minutes, or it can last for 2 hours. That depends. But when I'm working from home, when I heard the squeaks, I would just fire up JTDX and make some contacts on FT8. But working radio on sideband while I do my job, that would not increase the quality of my work. To put it that way.
Exactly, and and we're all adults, and we do have a life outside ham radio. And even though ham radio tends to be a big part of our life, it's sometimes a good decision not to do it. It's just the same. I don't watch ham radio YouTube while working either. So it's that. But how do you make time, Bob?
I think I'll just take it. It feels like that sometimes. I've been lucky since I got licensed. Things haven't really been as crazy at work. But now in the last few months, it really has. So I simply haven't had any energy left for doing big ham radio things. But I'm hoping that's going to change now. We finished off a huge project. But before then, and hopefully from now on, I'll just take the time. I'll just say, all right, I'm going up to play radio. When I have the opportunity to take maybe a day off work or a week off work, like I'm doing in September, I'll do that, and I get a lot of radio into that. I'm going to Mallorca from the 19th to the 26th. There are quite a few summits down there, and it looks like a really nice place to do summits on the year. So,
are you going to Alcudia, Bob?
Are
you going to Alcudia?
Did
you say Mallorca?
Mallorca, yeah.
Yeah, I did an activation in Alcudia. Isn't Alcudia? Yeah, that's Mallorca, isn't it? Yeah.
Is that a summit? Nemo summit?
Yeah, no, the Alcudia is the resort, the town.
All right.
And then there's a summit. There's a summit just behind it. The last time I was in Mallorca, I activated it. It's not a difficult one to. I had to hire a bicycle to get there. But,
I have a rental car, and basically what I did, I took the SOTA map of Mallorca, and I looked at where the summits were. And then I took the Google map and I looked at what resembled the city closest to all the mountains. And then I went to hotels.com and I found a hotel in that city.
Right, okay. Well,
so that was my process.
You're doing it the other way around. You're actually booking your holiday to match the mountains.
You are aware that
the holiday.
Yeah.
you are aware though, Bob, that you're on the show with someone who is a travel agent now. I can give you better rates than hotels.com.
Oh.
You can?
Yeah, I probably can.
Yeah, all right. I'll let you know next time.
Check with me the next time, and we'll work something out.
I'll do that. It wasn't an expensive hotel, but yeah. Basically, I just need a place to sleep and have a shower every once in a while, and I'm going to be up in the mountains.
Having working in the travel industry my entire life, I can go on a rant about hotels.com and other sites, but I'm not going to do that on air.
I'll say this. I used to love hotels.com because
that's a different YouTube channel than Morten.
Yeah.
That's his other one.
Let me do my hotels.com rant first, because I used to love them. They used to have the system that you got every 10th night for free. And now they merged into, I think, Experian. Is that correct, Morten?
Expedia?
Expedia, yeah, all right. And they no longer have that. They have some ridiculous, you get a euro bonus for a night stay in a hotel, so it doesn't matter anymore. But before that was actually a fairly meaningful discount to get. You would pay about the same as you get if you booked the hotel any place else, and you would get every 10th night for free. But they stopped doing that, so there's actually no particularly good reason to use hotels.com anymore other than inertia. So I'll definitely call you next time.
Do that, and we'll work something out. But that is, I mean, going on trips like that is a good way of getting time for ham radio. But you somehow got to get the family along on it, though, or are you traveling without the family?
That's the thing. You do not have to get your family along. If you want to do 2 or 3 or 4 summits in a day, you can't bring your family. That's not going to be any nice for anyone. So you need to leave your family alone, but then you do other things with your family, like I did this weekend. I heard Kjetil's complaining about he's having 5 hours drive. Yesterday we got up at 8 in the morning and we drove for 7.5 hours to Bergen. We saw a show with this guy Ismo, the funniest stand-up comedian in the world. We had dinner, we slept, and then we drove 7.5 hours back, and I just got in time to be on that's 15 hours of driving in less than 2 days. So
yep.
That's a Finnish comedian, right? Ismo?
Yeah, that's a
Or-
Finnish comedian. He's
Yeah,
everyone. If you haven't seen him, do it.
Yeah,
He's
watch
fantastic.
I
on
think he
YouTube.
has popped up in my social media feeds.
You can you can die laughing, especially if he explains weird things he experienced in the US. It's really
That
funny.
was a big part of the show. Yeah.
So that, I guess that leaves me though. How do I make time for ham radio? Well, first of all, I have a YouTube channel, which kind of commits me to do a little bit of ham radio and actually make some content once in a while on it. Although I've lowered the pace I release videos now, because if I would have been keeping that pace, I'd be close to burning out. And I've been trying to do more ham time without a camera nearby lately. But besides that, it's like you say, Dave, I keep a lot of gear in my car. I have a bag with most of my HF gear in, and then I have a drive-on mast mount. I got a mast, I got a mag mount, and a couple of antennas that basically just lives in my car. So if I pass a POTA park, or if I'm stuck charging my car, I can always just put up a mag mount and do some radio there. And then
you have SOTA chases as well, Morton, too. You probably, maybe like
Yep.
myself, you might have the app on your phone, depending on whether you have a phone, what type of phone you have, but say SOTA Go for the iPhone, and
Yep.
certain notifications set up, and you can, if a notification comes up and you have the time to pull in for 2 minutes, stick up the antenna, chase them, and then move on.
My radio is not permanently mounted though, so I needed a little bit more time than that to actually set up.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out a good way of permanently mounting the 706 in the car, or there are plenty of ways of permanently mounting it, but that's my only portable radio, so I want to be able to quickly get it out of the car and use it as well. So that's pretty much why I don't keep it mounted in the car. I do have a 2-meter radio though, and that's usually always on scan while I drive, and try to answer the calls I hear, because people need to be better at actually answering 2-meter calls. And I actually have a project where every day driving to work, I try to get someone on the local repeater, and going back from work, I try the same thing. And in 5 weeks of this new job, I've made 1 QSO.
Oh,
repeaters
back
can
there,
be-
Morton. We can have a nice chat when you drive back at least.
Yep. So so that's how I make time. And then I try to do at least 1 portable activation per week, and usually just at the nearest park, which is about 5 minutes away, and usually in the car, but just to be able to get out and actually play some radio. And I see that LB4LI say that I've had 2 QSOs on the repeater, and that's correct, because I've had 2 QSOs with him on the repeater. So James asked if I have a remote faceplate set up for the 706, and I do not. I do not have the remote kit, but I am considering it. But it just
I
doesn't.
would, Morton, to be honest. You know what I do with that? Like, one of the things I think with just exactly this, making time for amateur radio, is having everything as easy. If you're struggling, or if you're watching now and you're like myself, that is just struggling to get the time to actually spend time at it, is initially spend time at getting really good setups. So your mobile setup, like for example, I actually just bought a second 891, and that's pretty much my mobile sort of unit, and then I have an 891 in the shack here as well. So you have your 100-watt radio. I usually only run 50 from the car, but that's usually sitting in the car all the time with the remote extension on it. So the head unit is up on the dashboard, and the microphone is close by. And then obviously my 2-meter 77 setup as well. Sorry,
Yeah, and actually the 706 is not a bad radio for that, because that has 2 meters and 70 centimeters as well.
You have everything in one.
So, but the thing is though, the moment I want to go out and do a POTA outside the car, or a SOTA, that would require some disassembly. So I need to get a setup which I easily can do that.
How much is the 706 as an expensive radio?
It's almost unobtainium.
Yeah,
I searched I think I searched for about half a year before I found one, and that was actually from my club president. So
Yeah, so that's again,
Oh.
I would have the 891, but then I have a separate 2.77 m.
Yeah.
The one that's on your desk actually, because it's really small and neat. So I
Yep.
have one of those.
So what you're basically saying is have everything prepared so that the only thing you have to do is switch on the radio.
That's exactly what I'm saying,
Yep.
Tobias. That's exactly. So like even my home shack here, if I do a spot comes up on SOTA, it's just press a button, go. Well, as long as it's the
Yep.
bands that I have on my
And
antenna.
I actually do have another option though, and that's let's see how good this shows up on screen. I can probably use another camera. I just need to see if I can get Face ID to work. And that's I don't need to show it. That's the iPhone app for the Flex Radio. So I can actually do remote really easy. And that is also an option. So I don't have to set up a radio. The thing is, though, I've set up my remote setup, and what is probably not the best QTH for it. Every band except for 20 is really good. 20, I've started to get a lot of noise. So I am thinking about seeing if I can find somewhere to put the radio and just run it remote from home, but I haven't found a good place for it yet.
Did you try turning off all the fuses at home and see if the noise is still on 20?
I have done that as far as I can. The thing about the Flex Radio, though, is that you do require some internet infrastructure for it to work.
Yeah, or you have another radio you can check for noise.
I do. So I could do that, and I've tried that to a large extent, and I have not been able to find the source of the noise. So I am guessing that it's somewhere other than me in the neighborhood.
All right. Okay.
Someone has some new gear,
solar inverter or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't spotted any solar panels though.
Heat pumps. That's another thing.
My heat pump is really quiet though. That was one thing I was worried about when I had mine installed, but I've had no noise from that.
That should also be intermittent, shouldn't it? Heat pumps, it shouldn't be all the time.
No, and this is
exactly. Yeah,
I get somewhere between 4 and 6 S units of noise on 20 meters. So
all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah,
don't know.
You need to
and some of it is because of the way Flex measures noise, though, because it measures noise in the AD converter, and at the sampling stage, it samples the entire HF bandwidths in one go. But it shouldn't be that high, though. It should be somewhere between 1 and 3, basically. So with the Flex Radio, you usually see higher noise levels than with another radio, but not that high, as I experience.
I don't know. Investigation. That's all you can do.
That's one thing about mobile operations or portable, that the noise floor when you get out into woods or into out of rural areas, the noise floor drops dramatically. I mean, you can perfectly hear somebody with just S3 or S2. I don't know. It depends.
You think someone you think someone is 5 and 9, and you look at the meter and the needle isn't moving.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
Exactly,
I love it when that happens.
And then you video it, and somebody tells you that's not a 5 and 9.
And sometimes I don't even look. If it sounds like 5.9, he gets a 5.9.
I never look. I give all my reports by ear.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is subjective anyway. The readability is subjective no matter what. Fair enough, you could look at your meter for the signal level, but to challenge somebody on the readability is something that's totally subjective to the listener.
Absolutely. So what I have been looking into, though, is getting a separate receive antenna at home. So that might happen, either a regular loop or a loop on ground.
And do you think, silly question maybe, but do you think having these setups, say with particularly 20 meters, because 20 meters is such a popular band, and you can kind of nearly go on to 20 meters any time of the day and get something going on, does that feed into you're sort of making time. So in other words, if your 20-meter setup was better, your noise floor wasn't an issue, or your noise wasn't an issue, you'd be more likely to just flick on here and there at home, because you know you could kind of go. Just sort of bringing it back to topic, like would that be kind of what?
Yeah, absolutely, because
yeah,
having a good setup is key to making time for ham radio.
I think so, big time.
And this week has been a good example because 15 meters has been really, really good. And I came home from work on Tuesday, had dinner, sat down with a cup of coffee. And before I finished my cup of coffee, I'd had QSOs with Canada, Calgary nonetheless, Indonesia, and Wisconsin.
Cool.
And then I just turned off the radio because I figured I had already one amateur radio for that day. So there was no use in continuing.
15, I think 15's been really, really nice for a long time now. For many months, I've had made good contacts on 15. And by the way, this is for those just joining, as they say, this is the European Ham Radio Show where the guests bring us back on topic. So thank you so much, Dave.
Did you skip me? Or
you did,
we probably did, Tobias.
On to Tobias.
Okay, maybe that's because I'm whinging so much in the Discord channel, so that it anyway feels like I'm permanently complaining about not having time for ham radio. I find it pretty difficult, with a day job, and yes, I'm not married, so no kids or wife to distract me, but I inherited a pretty old house, and if you know what that means, it basically eats away your spare time. There's always something to do around the house. So I always have to basically say, do I spend the time on ham radio, or do I spend it on a house? And sometimes you just have to say, okay, for my own well-being and happiness, I prioritize ham radio, and then something is delayed by a week. That's just the way it is.
It doesn't, I find that for most, it doesn't even matter what your situation is. I mean, when I was younger, I thought I had no time. When I was in college, I thought I had no time. Before I had kids, before I was married, I thought I had no time. You just never think you'll always fill it with something, and so it's all relative, isn't it? It's relativity.
And it's also absolutely no problem to spend a weekend on something. I mean, at the end, the weekend is over, and you wonder where the time has gone, but you were busy the last 2 days doing stuff.
That is that feeling. I know that all too well. That feeling, you've spent a weekend doing busy work and you can't point your finger at anything you've accomplished. That's one of the things I really, really love about going out and activating summits on the air. If I go out and do 2, 3, maybe even 4 summits in a weekend, it feels like I've accomplished something. I can point to that. Like I say, I did that and I did that and I did that. It's a very, very good feeling on a Sunday evening.
Exactly. And there's a couple of questions on the loop antennas here, so I'm just going to address those real quick before I forget. Gert asks if a loop on ground makes a large difference. To be honest, I have no idea because I haven't tried one, but according to the YouTube, it does.
Yeah, I've also researched that, and I can basically say what you're saying. But I think there's the reason you get a loop on ground is because you have a noise issue. Some people's noise issues, it helps. Some people's noise issues, it doesn't make any difference. But it's a very, very inexpensive thing to build. So if you have a noise problem, go and try it, I'd say.
Yeah, this is a cheap 9-to-1 receive balun from eBay or AliExpress. I think that was somewhere around $2. So that is what I'm going to do for starters, and I'm probably going to upgrade that. But that was just a quick way into looking at that.
Don't transmit into the antenna with that.
No, do not transmit into a receive loop. And I did have the chance earlier this week to try out a regular loop antenna. I think it's about 1 meter in diameter, so not too big, with an LNA and everything, and that makes a huge difference. But you should not transmit into those as well. So I'm not really sure which way I'll go, but probably having a separate receive antenna is actually good.
Yeah,
and that's also
I ever looked into now, to be honest. But
and that's also down to having your setup so when you have time for radio, you actually both hear people and get out really good.
Yeah. For me, it's just about being able to put the time in at the start and flick it on fairly quick. Like I know that a lot of people maybe even starting out, and even myself when I started out, I thought, oh, I'd have this out in the shed or out of the house, and I know for a fact, whatever about how little I use the radio, I do use it, but how much I use it when it's in the house right here at the desk that I work from, when I work from home, or when I'm sitting here doing anything on the computer. If it was out in the shed or the garage, there's no way it would never get used, so I definitely think thinking about your location as best you can, convenience, to try to help when you do have that short bit of time. You're in the comfort of the house, you're not freezing cold going out to a cold place, or in the case of Tobias, you're either sweating or you're freezing.
I'm wondering if I should move my shack, downstairs. Just a bit longer wires, and then it's not so inconvenient. It's not boiling hot. It's not freezing cold in winter. So maybe I should do that.
I think it's. I mean, everyone's situation is different, and sometimes it can't be done. But for me anyway, who I'm on the road a good bit with work, a good mobile setup that I can get up and running fairly quick. I mean, it's always going on 2.70 SEMS. HF, I can get up and running fairly quick by just screwing on an antenna. And then a good setup in for your home shack that doesn't have to be super duper mad antennas or anything like that. But if you've got a good 100-watt radio and you've got and it's sitting in a place that's convenient for you to operate it. That's just my opinion anyway. And I think that's
so
when you get started
I
first.
think in terms of car setup, maybe 891 and the TEHRS antenna.
Yeah.
Probably the quickest, less hassle get on any band setup.
Yeah.
Not exactly super cheap, but definitely, you get into the car, you hit the button, you're on air.
But if you put like 891s now, like, and I'm a bit of an 891 fanboy, I have two of them, but like 891s now, they are popping up secondhand for quite reasonable money, even 400 or 500 euros in some cases, and maybe a little more, but with an extension kit, you can set that up, have really good quality radio HF in the car with your head unit at the front and your mic at the front, and you can mount your radio wherever you want. I have it behind the back seat, for example. And then if you have something that you can get an antenna, even if it's a ham stick on a mag mount that sits in your boot and you just throw it up whenever you need to, I think that's a really good option. And if you're somebody who's on the road a bit, but would have the opportunity to pull in, maybe if you watch the spots for SOTA, there's a couple of us here, SOTA operators, obviously, or POTA or Flora Fauna, whatever, it gives you a reason as well, rather than just
doing
randomly.
Your mobile operation, sorry to interrupt, I was just wondering, your HF rigs, you're not powering it from the car battery, you have a separate battery, or how?
No, I would have for me anyway, I'd have a separate LifePo battery that sort of sits in the car. I use it whenever I need it, and then every now and then I'll charge it.
Yeah, same here. I got a separate battery.
What is it called? Cigarette lighter is fused with 10 amps. Yeah, so that's not good for 100 watts.
Yeah, well, my 2.70 SEMS is off the car battery. So
in the days that I got direct, I ran the 891 from the cigarette lighter. That was never a problem for me. I didn't check the fuse there. I did not run digital on 100 watts, but I would guess if that's fused with a 10 amp fuse, and you do only sideband, unless you routinely go into the microphone, you're going to be good with 10 watts.
Damn it, I always do that.
Yeah. Hola.
and probably not run your amplifier from the cigarette lighter.
Absolutely. But it worked for me. But it might be worth checking out. Maybe having a spare fuse in the car is a good idea as well. But
maybe somebody changed it to a 25 amp fuse. The previous owner of your car.
Just wrap it with tin foil and you're good to go.
Yeah. And then again, I've said this before, and I hope I don't offend any people, but that's an Eastern European car, and fuses might be different there.
They are more, let's say, resilient
Yeah.
It's just a nail, is it?
I think I saw a video from some guy who tested, Chinese car battery fuses, and hey, this is a 10 amp fuse. 10, okay, fine. 15, fine. 20, oh, now it's, I think, okay, 25.
I think the only difference, he bought a mixed set of fuses. Now, if I recall correctly, the only difference was the color of the plastic. Everything else was exactly the same.
Well, it's
That's all
cost
that matters.
optimized production. Yeah, who can complain against that?
So we're getting close to the hour mark, and if we should conclude, I think what we've actually
can you maybe check the chat. Maybe have some questions.
Let's see here.
While you're checking that, I just want to just point out about this very special hat here. This hat, if you can see it. I don't know.
I'm gonna enlarge you here, Dave.
Will I get down or up? Where do I need to go down? Right? You see that? Everybody see it? LB0FI. This is the only one of these hats that exists, apparently. Is that correct, Martin?
That is correct. I don't even have one myself.
He doesn't
and
even
I really
have one himself, right?
I have it in my merch store, but I don't have it myself. I need to actually get one because I'm a hat person. So
so same here. So if you look at, if anybody, a lot of you probably don't even follow my channel. That's fine. It's a hobby for me too. But if you do, you know that I'm pretty much in every video I'm wearing a hat. I have loads of hats. This is one of the most expensive hats. And not because Morton is making a lot of money out of it, but it's just because of the import duty charges in Ireland. So I just want you to know it's a very special hat, Morton. It's very special to me.
I really appreciate it though. And the thing is though, after you ordered yours, I got a copyright claim on the logo.
Oh my God.
So I had to submit some paperwork and prove that was my logo.
But Irish Ham Radio hats as well.
Not to disappoint, but I'm looking at your merch store on YouTube now, and there's no hat, Morten.
It should be there. I need to look at that and find the hat again. And if it's not there, I'm gonna put it out again.
Yeah, please do.
I love it anyway.
John K6 RXD has a question here. What's our preferred login database? I think we covered. Was it last week we talked about bloggers?
Yeah. Part of the week before that, there's a whole episode on good info on loggers.
We didn't cover this part though. My log is always on my computer and as a backup, and I sync automatically to QRZ. And then because of Logbook of the World not being the most user-friendly platform, I tend to upload once or twice a year to Logbook of the World.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I log on my phone and on my desktop computer pretty much everywhere, and I save the logs to Dropbox. So backup is important. Just having it on your computer does not make you immune to trouble. So put it on Dropbox, OneDrive if you're insane, or somebody else's solution. But
You're insane.
Yeah.
Hello, Microsoft.
Hi.
we all, let's say we all have our preferred cloud services, Bob.
Yeah, I know.
I'm actually pretty bad about backing it up now, I have to say. I must be better at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But portable. Just on the login thing, portable. I would usually use HamRS. It's quite a popular one. It has SOTA and different templates in it. And recently now I've started using Station Master as well in the shack here. So my original login would have been log4om. And I've moved to Station Master now, which actually sends my log over to my log4om in the background anyway, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool interactive login program with maps, and I'm on version 2 at the minute. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've said this a lot of times, but I really need to migrate to Station Master. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Stu. Don't worry. It's on my to-do list. It's just that my to-do list gets fuller by the day.
Maybe we could get Stu on for another plug of his excellent logging solution.
Maybe we should have Stu on a stream walking us through setting up Station Master.
That
Station Master
could be a good idea.
Yeah. I think last time we have had version 1, so episode with Station Master 2 might make sense.
Oh,
Well, what
absolutely.
I like about it, if you are operating from the shack, people can actually see when you're even transmitting. So like they know that you're transmitting, and there's
Yep.
a small inset as well. You probably know this anyway. For the you can put on your chores page, so people can see when you were last active on what frequency, and
Yeah, and that's a great
cool.
feature. I've
Yeah.
figured, speaking about them, that's a little bit on topic again. But I've found out if I spot myself on the DX cluster when calling CQ from at home,
Yeah.
I have a tendency to get more QSOs than if I don't. So I've started doing that, just
Yeah.
self-spotting.
Yeah. You would. Yeah, you would. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
have
but
a feeling
coming
though that
back to the question, I had, of course, everybody realized that Logbook of the World was down, but I mean, what happened? Yeah, nothing happened. The data is still in my logbook program on the PC, and I just uploaded when it was back up online again. Yeah, so there was no data lost, and I think they recovered everything. So while it was not ARRL's brightest moment, at least from a log perspective, no harm done, right?
yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, was that a bit of a bigger deal? Made a bigger deal than it actually was. Was it really that? What was the impact to? Was it private data breach? I didn't really follow
It was not, at least it was not a membership breach and a logbook of the world breach, but it was the business side of things
Right. Okay.
that got hurt, as far as I've understood. And it was a
Yeah, I don't know
ransomware
the
attack.
details.
And
they
had to
paid
pay
the
some
ransom.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
But that is
Okay.
standard operating procedure for a lot of companies. My previous employer also had a ransomware virus, and the cheapest way to get out of it is usually
Just
paying
pay
for
it.
it.
Pay it.
Yep.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
So to conclude though on today's show, since we're past the hour mark, the key to finding time for ham radio is actually being prepared. Having your setup, either if it's portable, mobile, or at home, ready to go. So when you have time, you can just sit down and operate. I think that is the conclusion. If any of you don't have any other opinions.
No, I think that's
Sometimes
right.
you just
Yeah.
have to prioritize it. Yeah, if you think this is
Mm.
your hobby and you want to do ham radio, then you do ham radio and are not, painting a room or doing something around the house.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think having and it doesn't have to be massively expensive to be prepared either. Like you don't have to go building like this very expensive Go box type situation, which are cool
No.
as well. Just that it's convenient. Don't be afraid, like Bob in earlier, to take your radio on holiday, especially if you're going to another country that you can operate with your license. And I do it on the summer holidays that we go, and the family would be laughing at me taking this radio. And I always get stopped at customs as well, going through the security. What is this? Especially with the X6100, because under the LifePo battery as well, like because it's this bulk of battery, in a box. They're kind of wondering what it is, but yeah, I think just not being afraid to take it with you and take those opportunities. Take the opportunities when you get them.
Exactly. And I guess that concludes our show. Next week is our field day special, because next weekend is the Region 1 field day.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for reminding me.
Yep. There is an open spot at my club's field day if you want to come, Tobias. And
I have to negotiate holidays first. Yeah.
And as it looks now, we're not going the less is more route for field day. We're going the more is more route. So that is going to be a lot of fun.
Bring your flex.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm bringing my flex.
Yeah,
and Simon SA6TIG, he's bringing a mobile router which also has cabled network. So we'll cable everything. We'll log on a network. We'll have a lot of antennas, and we might even have an amplifier or two.
Are you bringing
setup
QO100 kit?
There might be a QO100 guy showing up.
Yep.
If not, there will be a lot of low Earth orbit satellites. So we are gonna do that. Ian asked if I'm the soda activator he spoke today. No, not soda. I didn't do a soda today. I did a POTA, but I had only 4 QSOs, so I don't think I've spoken to you today.
Kjetil did a SOTA, right?
Yeah, Sheta did a soda today.
That could be it.
So it might be that. And I guess that's it for now. See you guys next week on our field day special. And make sure you find some time for ham radio this coming week. 730.
Absolutely. 73.
73.